What is up, everybody? I'm back with another video, and today I actually wanted to share with you what Pokemon cards and collecting can tell us about Veve NFTs and our investments going forward. So before I begin, this is never financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, and really to just give you some more insight and perspective on what I kind of grew up understanding. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is all the Pokemon cards that you buy that are pretty much worth, little to nothing. Look at all this. Now, this is just a booster box that I just opened up the other day. And all these cards here are worth anywhere from 5 to 10 cents, if that. And so essentially what I have to do is I have to go to these retailers that buy these cards in bulk so that I can at least get a little bit of money back. And it's a really time-consuming process. It's almost as if, returning recycled bottles. And what people don't understand on Veve is that everything that they have does seem to hold value a lot better. As with Pokemon collecting, you're actually going in and buying booster boxes, hoping to get, 4 to 6 cards that are actually going to be expensive and may even appreciate over time. But it really is a dying venture for the most part if you're just opening up packages of Pokemon cards. And so, that's what taught me when I was younger to really go after singles. And the only reason I buy booster boxes is more for the thrill of it. And, some people live stream, there's a lot of different things that people do. But really in terms of an investing strategy, you're better off actually going after the singles and those individual cards and, looking at the analysis to see if it would appreciate long term. Now, unlike Veve, Pokemon doesn't have a master collector program. What they do have is a trading card game. So some people would want to keep these cards that I just showed to you because they would want to use it in the game. And a lot of people are actually playing it again, which is great. But, with Veve, they're going to have a master collector program on top of all this, right? So we're really lucky to think that some of the stuff that we will hold will be getting recurring points. If I can get recurring points from all these cards to get a better card, I would keep boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of them. Okay, so that's the first point that I want to bring up is just how fortunate we are in Veve to have all of these things retain such high value if you do hit. I just again bought 3 booster boxes, which is 36 packs a box. And just to give you an example, I rounded up just like the best cards from one of these boxes. And I'd say the value of this, even if I got it all graded, and they'll likely get anywhere from a PSA 9 to 10, maybe not even a 10, but mostly in the 9s. I'm maybe looking at like $100 of value from about $180 investment. So these are just some of the cards that you have. This is, this one's the most expensive. It's probably like $27 right now. This is $25, and it just keeps going down the line from there. And some of these are only a few bucks, but I still put them in top holders and everything because I enjoy it. It's a sport for me. But that's just a few examples there. The second thing I wanted to bring up is, a lot of people have these controversies over like these subtle little differences. So as an example, when we look at Spider-Man, a lot of people are saying, well, the common Spider-Man is pretty much still the first ever appearance of Spider-Man on the blockchain. Even though there's a lot more additions than the secret rare, it still matters. And I would argue it does. But those little subtleties, so for instance, like secret rare, the fact that the secret rare can do a backflip, the fact there's only 1,000 editions, really adds a lot of value. And you saw this with the base set Charizard, okay? So Charizard right now, in a raw form, you can pick it up for, let's say, around $450. Now, if you get a shadowless Charizard, which pretty much means that around the frame, there wasn't a shadow, it was pretty much a printing area and it was knocked off, that would sell for about $1,300 raw, and this is Canadian values I'm talking in. And then a first edition shadowless is probably at least $20,000 raw and not even great condition. Now, the best one, which is a Beckett 10 that Logan Paul owns, it's pretty much a perfect 10 gem mint. That one is a first edition shadowless, and it sells for like just around $1 million, right? And I think other ones have sold for about $360,000 in the past. So, the way that I see Spider-Man NFTs is the same kind of thing. I almost see like a common Spider-Man being like a base set hollow Charizard, and then that first edition shadowless high grade being like a low mint secret rare Spider-Man. So that's kind of the equivalency I see there. And just how, because there's a lot fewer at that top end, people can pay a higher price point. So that's just a little bit of understanding on that. And again, first edition shadowless Charizard just at a decent mint would still be very expensive. And that's how, again, I see a Secret Rare Spider-Man that is not a low mint. So again, this is just not financial advice. This is just all my own insights and, just garnering or gathering information from what I've learned in Pokemon and really trying to apply it to the NFT space and just sharing this insight with you. Another thing I wanted to bring up is, popular characters will always do really well. I mean, there's been hundreds of different Charizards, okay, that have been, printed, and all of them seem to retain, really high value, especially if they're the ultra rares or the hyper rares or the secret rares. They really do, very well. So a lot of them won't compare to that base set Charizard, but as an example, this is another one that came from the Hidden Fates, and a lot of people know this card. So I just got a PSA 9 of this, about $450 I paid for it. But for Beckett 10 at its hype was around 10K. And this is a pretty new Charizard. This came out in 2019. And so I believe the same thing with Veve, right? So if we have like a black suit Spider-Man come out in the next few years, and it's the first time it's appeared, and there's like only 600 editions, it could still be equivalency to something like this, still sell for a lot of money because, again, it's a popular character, and they really will retain their value long term. And again, in the Brilliant Stars, there's a new Rainbow Charizard that came out, and it goes for just under $400 or $500. So just to let you know that like those popular characters are pretty much safe investments. And the one thing that I like that, Pokemon does is that they pretty much, create new kind of things every time they release the same character. So for instance, for Charizard, they have, the EX Charizard, they have the VMAX Charizard, they have the V-Star Charizard. So as an example, here's the Charizard VMAX. I pulled this from a new booster box, Darkness Ablaze, not too long ago. And then here's, just a PSA 10 Charizard that is just a V-type, right? So there's so many different things. Here's an older Charizard that I've got. And so there's just so many different things that play into the value. And I think Veve should start doing the same thing. So instead of just saying, here's the first edition or first appearance, maybe the Steamboat Willie, as an example, they can just call it a special edition, like an SE, and then it's only going to happen once in a while. And I just believe that having those tags will make people think about it more and want it more, because without a tag, it really doesn't have that scarcity effect, because a lot of other collectibles don't have tags, right? So I think by adding these little things that wouldn't necessarily affect the FE or FA status, I do believe that they will, get more value long term, because people will see it, as a one and done kind of thing. And I think that's why Pokemon's done such a great job of at least retaining value across these Charizards. Again, more than 100 different Charizards, because of those concepts. Now, that being said, these Charizards that I'm showing you here, are worth no more than maybe, $5 to $25. Okay. So scarcity, hype, all these different things do still, come into consideration. Another thing I wanted to talk about is errors. So errors do sell for a lot simply because there's fewer of them, right? So there's this, Dragonite. It's a non-hollow Dragonite that was misprinted, and it sells for a few $1,000s, at a high grade. And it's an ugly looking card, in my opinion, but a lot of people want it because there's just fewer of them. And in the Pokemon collecting space, that's a very good clout piece that you can show off. Now we have several sets on Veve where they were supposed to be a first appearance, but Veve said, guess what? We're going to continue having it as a first edition. As an example, Joe, Becky, and Rizzo from the first ever set, or, the Red, Black, and White series Harley Quinn set. When there is thousands and thousands of NFTs on Veve, and all of these characters, all of them have FA or non-FA, yet those very few have first edition, what do you think they're going to sell for? These are the type of subtleties, the type of little intricate details that collectors really go after. And I've seen this time and time again. And on that note, scarcity actually plays a bigger factor than people think. As an example, there's this Magnemite, which is a really boring card, a first edition in the one of these really limited series in Pokemon that actually sells for, over $6,000 at a high grade. And the only reason for that is just because there's such few of them. And I'm assuming as kids, a lot of people that had these first edition Magnemites didn't really care about them because, it wasn't really a hyped up character. So they kind of damaged them or they didn't really care. And then therefore there was fewer that got graded and now you just can't find them. And that's another reason why, scarcity does come back into effect. Another thing I wanted to talk about too is the 2006 financial crisis. So at this time, Pokemon had its lowest confidence ever. It wasn't printing as many cards. And so you had these, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this, but like the Gold Star Charizard or the Gold Star Rayquaza, which would sell for under $100 at the time if you were buying singles, that now at a Gem 10 mint goes for, $25,000 and $40,000 respectively. And I actually have this screenshot here of this guy in 2017 looking to sell these two cards for $600 Canadian. And, the price of that now, if I were to buy them off him and waited till the 2020, the big hype, probably would have been, north of at least $40,000, right? So think about that as an investment. And the applicability to Veve here is like right now, we're kind of in a down cycle. There's a lot of different stuff happening around the world, and there's a lot of hesitancy in crypto and in investing. And this is the time, in my opinion, where you want to buy and you want to stock up. I mean, again, we have the best NFTs in the world on the blockchain. The cash out has been confirmed. These are real NFTs. Like, there's everything that we wanted to happen to come to fruition. It is the first Spider-Man. It is the first Batman. It is the first Superman. And what do you think that's going to mean in 10 years' time? So the confidence, if just like I did with Pokemon when I was holding on to some of these things, for the long term, I was still convicted that one day they would gain value. And if I would have held on to more, I would have got more money. And it's the same thing here with Veve. If you're willing to hold on and you're willing to think about these NFTs and what their actual worth is, I think you'll do very well. It reminds me of Spider-Man Secret Rare, right? In August of 2021, it was $1,600, okay? $1,600. And in my head, I was like, this is a really good NFT. I know it's going to do good long term. And if I was only more convicted, I would have bought like 5 to 6 of them. But instead, I was more reserved, and people were flooding it, saying it looked like a PS2 game. And then here we are in January, where it hit an all-time high of 100K. Now it's maybe around 50. But nonetheless, I mean, that's still a 25x from where it was sitting currently. And so it's those same strategies. If you're thinking now, oh, this Aston Martin car here, the first ever James Bond car that's like on the NFT, on the blockchain. It's, one of the most popular cars of all time, if not the most popular car. And it's limited to just over 500 editions. These are the types of things that you're like, okay, it will likely go up long term. It's a secret rare. There's all these different things about it. So I think it's really about staying convicted. And I just really wanted to share that with you. Another big thing is it might actually take a while for these investments to appreciate. We've been exceptionally lucky seeing a Todd go from $80 to friggin' $16,000 at its high, which is just unheard of, right? Seeing partner statue go from, $333 to $50K. Like some of these things, it would take Pokemon cards, 10 to 15 years. And so if I saw 2 to 3x in some of my investments in Pokemon, I'd be like I'd be overjoyed, right? So we have to like take a step back here. And people that bought in the hype of January, now it's only a month later and they're already flooding the project. This is the worst thing ever. It's been a month. Try waiting a few years and see where you're at. We waited about 9 to 10 months before everything popped. We were here from March and things did little ups and downs. There was a big comic boom, but for the most part, some of these, NFTs, the statues, they were gradually inclining, but not to the extent that happened, in November, December, and January. Then it just went, cataclysmic, like everything just blew up. But we waited a long time, so if you bought in January, you can't just expect that like everything's just going to keep going up after it's high. So again, never financial advice, but it's never good to buy high and sell low. And it's never good to play with money that you don't have. Like, so if you're willing to wait, I really do believe that it's a good investment. Another big thing is like season 1, I do believe will go up over time. So just like we saw in the Pokemon base set, there's over 400,000 cards that have been submitted to PSA grading just in that base set. And even sometimes for like a first edition shadowless, common card, you're looking at, a few $100, and then if you get like a PSA 10, it could be over $1,000, right? So I kind of see the same thing here. I think over time, in the next 4 to 5 years, maybe people are going to be looking back at the season 1 to 3 and think, oh my gosh, like I would love to have the first ever NFT or one of these NFTs from the first series, right? And it'll be very historical. And even for any kind of Pokemon collector, having that base set stuff is an essential part of collecting. So I just really wanted to share this knowledge with you. Again, there's no right answers here. We're all speculating as to what we think could do really well long term, but I'm exceptionally bullish on Veve. Again, it's not like we're receding into the physical world. We're only getting more and more digital and digitized, and NFTs are only becoming more accepted and mainstream, and companies are coming up on board. And I don't know how Veve pulled it off, but they somehow brought in all these insanely popular and reputable and giant licenses into one platform. And I've said it before, could you imagine if there was one store that had all your collecting needs, and there's only one in the world, and everybody went in there to purchase their Marvel stuff, to purchase their Disney stuff? I mean, it's insane to think about what they've accomplished here. And the beautiful thing that, unlike Pokemon, which is its own little niche world, Veve is essentially making all these different collecting worlds one and uniform. So people that only collected like Marvel products are now interested into Disney NFTs, and people that only like Disney NFTs are now exploring decon, and people that only collected comic books are now appreciating the statues more, right? So it's incredible what's going on here. And so again, just from my little experience that I do have in these last in this last year, my Veve birthday is going to be March 9th, believe it or not. So that's coming up in just over a week. Is that there's going to be lots of FUD cycles, right? It's going to go up, it's going to come down, it's going to go up, it's going to come down, and it's probably going to continue to do that for the next few years until you get more to a pretty good foundation. But this is just how markets work. I mean, nothing just keeps going up forever. I mean, if that was the case, I would be terrified, because I would know that we're eventually going to come to some major crash. And so I think it's just important to understand that, and to research market cycles and research NFTs. And the thing with Veve is there's a lot of people that just love collecting but don't understand markets, and don't understand crypto, and don't understand investing as much. So anybody that's in here to collect, if you are concerned about the prices of your NFTs, then that may be a good thing to do, is do some more homework on the right way to invest, or understanding cycles better and things like that. So anyways, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you kind of enjoyed that video. I'm a huge love for Pokemon cards. I hope everybody's having a great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.